Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Grit, Give, Recognize, Implement Time podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Nathanson, CEO and founder of Strive for More. We are shifting gears a little bit here into something we ask a lot as managers. How do I motivate my direct reports? It's a very good question. With that, I'm going to share some key things on motivational theories and buckets that will help blend all those theories together in something that's digestible and start answering that question for us. Very first and foremost, this is actually quite a common question. It comes from the fact that we're all uniquely motivated, and our motivation can shift and change over time as well. It can be very confusing because they're not motivated the same that I am. I recognize that, but what the heck motivates them? How do I figure that out? It seems like it's shifted and changed. Well, it does. It does over time, and that's okay. So let's get into some basics. Three things we're going to talk about essentially is the range of motivation, the needs that help set the context up for motivation, like how do we culturally set up successful motivation, and then what are the common buckets we can put motivation in. Today may be a little bit shorter and more directive of an episode, but those are the three key things we're going to get into. With that, motivation is a rank. It can go from a motivation, it's a range. It can go from a motivation, which is completely demotivating somebody, right? It's demotivating, not being motivated at all the way to fully self-motivated. This is called intrinsic motivation. We have that range, complete demotivation, otherwise known as amotivation, to intrinsic motivation, which is just full self-motivation. So let's look at that for a second. The self-motivation piece is, I'm doing this essentially for the pure love and enjoyment of it. I actually really love running. I do that purely for the joy of it. That's the self-motivation piece. It aligns with who we are, what we value, what we want, and the joy that we get from it. The pure love for it. That's why we do something. That is the strongest form of motivation. That's motivation that comes from other people. Then there's motivation, that comes from other people. It's a range. It's essentially something that we have forced upon us from somebody that's very short-lived. That's kind of one part of it. All right, you know what? I can say, hey, if you don't do this, you're going to get fired, right? That's very close to a motivation. That's this one side of the range. You may say, all right, whatever, that's fine. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to get it done with. I don't want to get fired. It's very short-lived. It's not a great motivator. That's where it starts, this range from external motivators. Where it ends is close to self-motivation. It's aligning what we give people and how we motivate them to who they are, what they value, what they want. Because when we do that, it is as closely aligned as we possibly can get to what they are self-driven by. If we align things with who they are, what they want, what they value, then it's much easier to have them be motivated because they see the importance of it. They see the value in it. It aligns with who they are as an individual. That is the closest we can get as external parties to motivating people as they are self-motivated with the things that they truly love and enjoy doing. That's one of the very first things to understand about motivation, is there's legitimately a range that isn't just extrinsic and intrinsic. It's a motivation to intrinsic, because we can do things that completely demotivate our folks. If they come to us and they feel like they're always talking to a brick wall and beating their heads against it, and there's nothing that's ever going to change because it's always just the same, and there's no worth in doing something because it's never going to change, they're going to be demotivated. The same can be said as an organization. Promises, promises, promises. Never any follow through. Why would I continue to bust my hump for somebody who doesn't truly care about me, or an organization that doesn't care? It's important because of those reasons to note that a motivation is part of that range. Now that we know the range, let's talk about psychological needs that actually create an environment that successfully allow us to motivate people. This comes from self-determination theory and is one of the most widely accepted theories on motivation. It says that there's three things that really are key to setting people up to be successfully motivated. They are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. What does autonomy mean? It's not just that they have the freedom to work on their own, it's that they have the freedom of choice. That's key. They can choose of their own free will of how they go about, say, what they do. Make the choices related to, say, what they're working on. Autonomy in this sense comes with freedom of choice. Great illustration of it is there's many different ways to achieve what we want or arrive upon a solution. What's more important for us as a manager? Is it the solution or is it how somebody got there? Can I allow that freedom of choice to reach that conclusion that we want, that solution that we're looking for, and give them the ability to be who they are and best arrive upon that for them? It's that piece of it that we're looking for, the solution that really matters. There may be some very set practices and procedures that are one-offs because you may say, well, we'll see if they have to do certain things in a certain way. There are some instances where that's true. But how often is that actually the case? Just because somebody does something differently than I doesn't mean it's a wrong way of doing it. That's hard to swallow for a lot of folks, but that's part of this. That's part of this autonomy, that freedom of choice. The second piece, competence. That blends into some of our last episodes on personal development. Does somebody feel competent? Are they knowledgeable and confident in their capabilities to achieve what's being asked of them? If they are, they're going to be able to go out and do it a whole lot easier than, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure I know how to do this. When they don't feel competent, they can be frustrated. They can beat their heads against the wall. They can give up more easily. Come on, I don't know. I can't do this. If we've done our job in growing individuals and setting them up for success to completely be able to do what they're asked to do, then they're going to be much more likely to do it, much more motivated to do it. Then the last piece of it is relatedness. It's twofold. It's, as an individual, do I feel like I'm truly cared for and wanted by the folks that I work with? And then do I feel like I will go out of my way and do things out of the kindness of my heart for them? There's an altruistic component of relatedness. Do others make me feel like I'm wanted and cared for? And then would I do something for them out of the kindness of my heart as well? When people truly feel that relatedness, they feel connected. They feel part of something. They're much more likely to do what we want and are motivated to do it because they feel like they're a part of something. If they feel isolated, siloed, is there an actual motivation to participate? And the answer is no. When we culturally have these three needs met, autonomy, competence, relatedness, we set our folks up to successfully be motivated. It's easier for us to leverage the extrinsic motivation as close as we can to pure self-motivation. And having them feel autonomous, having them feel competent, having them feel like they have that relatedness piece, it drives them towards that self-motivation, that intrinsic motivation, because they feel like they are truly a part of something. They've got that freedom and choice, and they know how to do it. They actually not only make it easier for us to intrinsically motivate people, it also sets them up to be intrinsically motivated too. With that, one of the other things that I'm wanting to cover is the buckets. The common buckets we can typically categorize how people are motivated into. There's 5 common buckets: rewards, consequences, goals, needs, and then equity/fairness. Those are typically the 5 areas that can help define what motivates individuals and human beings. A lot of people are goal-oriented. That means they're motivated to achieve success through the goals that they have. They set the goals, they strive for it, and they achieve it. Some of us may be motivated by rewards. Hey, I'm a salesperson. My company has a president's trophy, let's say for the top salesperson. I'm motivated to work hard to get that reward. Or one of the things we mentioned is, I don't want to get fired. I want to avoid that consequence. So I'm going to work. Those are some of the easier ones to understand and to see. Needs is something we've talked about on the show before, where they are very deep-seated emotional and visceral reactions to things that we absolutely need. We've talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs that I think is a great illustration to understand needs. Things that are essentially our safety, our basic human needs, food, water, shelter. Do we feel connected? We were talking about belongingness there for a second. Do we have safety? Then at the highest point, self-actualization needs. Maybe I would love a challenge in what I do. Maybe I need to be intellectually stimulated. Maybe I love the thrill of the chase in sales. What is it that we feel like we need to have to be fully satisfied? Often more motivated by achieving those because they're needs that we want fulfilled. I'm motivated to work on this project because it's challenging me. I get to problem solve. I get to do something creative that perhaps I didn't in this other role. These can be strong motivators. And it's a broad category. There's a lot in there. Same with gold. Then the other equity, fairness piece of it, we are often motivated to essentially right those wrongs. There's inequality that's here, and I'm going to fight to overcome that and make that right. I share those because it's a good framework to start seeing how different people are motivated. What drives them? Knowing that part of it can help us leverage what we need to know from our experiences with them. What have we seen in conversations with them? What have we seen in their actions? Can we leverage those experiences, the conversations, the actions? Can we start fitting those to these different buckets we've talked about? In conversations with them about motivation, we can fall short of knowing what motivates them by asking that question. Well, what motivates you? People may not know. So we can use these buckets as areas in conversation to start picking into what motivates them. Start talking about their goals. See how they react. Start talking about things that they enjoy, they like, things that they feel are absolute must for them. We can start unearthing those needs. If they come to you as a, you know what, I really want to earn that president's trophy. Hey, guess what? That's a key. That's a clue. Rewards. That's how, in conversation, we can start picking up on motivation for folks. Before I sign off today, let me end with something. Rewards and consequences can be very short-lived. If we're constantly motivating people by consequences or rewards, it's going to be very short-lived. And there's only so far that goes because after a point, that's not going to work any longer and serve as a fulfilling motivator for people and may actually start demotivating them. If they're always motivated by avoiding consequences, at some point they're going to say, I don't want to live in this reality, in this really negative, non-serving type of culture. Where am I always driven to do something out of fear of losing my job? I don't want to live that way. I don't want to work that way. These buckets also help us understand what are going to be much more fruitful, long-lasting motivators, like the needs and the goals. What are going to be those short-lived motivators, like rewards and consequences? This is just a framework based on looking through a whole ton of different motivational theories and boiling it down to the nuts and bolts. There's more on it than we can talk through. So if you want to learn more, please reach out to me. We're going to have a good one-on-one conversation around it. More than happy to do that with you. Please just let me know. So until the next time, remember, if we never know, if we never ask, we'll never know. If we never try, we never will. Be the movement in your life. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not be perfect. And it's okay to learn and to grow and develop over time. It's part of who we are as human beings. And that can help drive us as motivators to learn and to grow, to not repeat things, to leverage past experiences, to fine tune things, to get better, to get stronger, to lead more effectively. Mistakes are often some of the greatest motivators. I look forward to hearing from you. So until the next time, be the movement in your life.